Maayong hapon kanatong tanan. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Live in the studios of Tops Media Center, we have Mimo Osmena. Maayong hapon, Sir Mimo.
Maayong hapon, Sir Jiggy. Sabi ng sir.
Yeah, we were talking
No, but
about.
somebody made a comment on our last program. Said,
What
well,
about? What
you
about?
know, first time you meet, yeah, it's a good idea to address them as sir and ma'am out of respect. I can understand that, and I can, but once you get to know each other, then drop the title.
Now, of course, you have a new title as well. You're also husband, right? So congratulations. I heard you got married a few days ago. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, someone, how do you feel about it?
Actually, it's comforting. I mean, the difference. I've been together with her for quite a number of years, and it feels more connected.
I messaged, I made a comment on your post na Lamdag na gyud si Mimo. And this is actually what his show is. It's called Lamdag in another station, in some parts of the city, right, or the island of Cebu, right?
The other show, Lamdag, is Bantay Radio, which is broadcast. I think the transmitter is in Bogo and Gihulngan in Negros. So there's quite a reach, but I think Cebu City itself has a blind spot. They were supposed to set up a third tower, which used to be in the yacht club, but I think they're going to put one up in Cordova, and that would cover Cebu. Then we have, what I do is we replay it in DYKC on Saturdays. That way, those in Cebu can listen to the same program.
So imong programa dito sa kanang mga estasyon, sir, is similar to this, right? Mura Q&A, right?
Q&A. Ang atong mga audience mo yung mangutana. So any topic, of course, legal topics.
What does that mean?
Well, there are things like if they ask me how to make a bomb, I'm not really gonna teach that online.
Since you just got married, Mimo ba? Let me start my question with the marriage, the institution ba. Okay, marriage, magod, is a relatively new invention, right? I mean, the way we use marriage ang kamanion karong mga panahon na is a relatively new concept. Can you remind me, and maybe tell everybody unsa magyuning kamanion? When did this whole institution of marriage start?
Well, I remember that question coming out, and I did some research, and it's not that old. I thought that marriage has been around for thousands of years. There were unions, and they had different processes, but the process that we use today is only about maybe a couple hundred years. It was different before. It was the union of people, but basically it's the same. It's just that now there's a formal process, and then each country has different requirements. It's for the protection of both parties. It's in our constitution, the family code book, also as far as how to protect the family, because the Philippines considers the family as very important. So protection of the family, the children and the spouses and all that. So, like dissolution of marriages exists all over the world except the Philippines. Philippines is the last to have
and the Vatican, right? And the Vatican, of course.
Of course, the Vatican. Yeah.
From what I understood, correct me if I'm wrong. Kanang kaminyoon, the institution of marriage, the purpose of that initially was something else. It wasn't for people who are in love and they would have a kind of union, right? Lahi man kuno tong purpose atong marriage atong una. From what I understood, what am to keep wealth from within or something like that.
Yeah, that's part of it. No, so the family code book covers that. So there's such a thing though as a prenup, where you have an agreement as far as the assets are concerned, or the family, or the so the way it works, a normal or standard union, both parties shares the fruits of the labor, because you're basically a team. So both of you working together, so you both share the benefits of that.
Kaya kana kunong mahigugma, that was a form of rebellion back then. Magminyo mo kay nahigugma mo sa inyo you love each other, right? Because the original intention of marriage before was really to make sure that wealth is kept from within a certain family or something like that. So to get married because of love was a kind of act of rebellion. Can you enlighten me
Yeah,
on that story?
it's not exact, no? Kaning ang atong pagpahayag ini dili kanang 100%, no? Kay lahi man gud na ang lain-lain mga tao lain sa ang tuyo ana. That's why sometimes I look at it that the marriage contract itself, which is a legal binding, is one form. Duna sa kana religious binding, that's also different. And then there's what you call your personal commitment to each other. Kaya na may daghang mga tao din sa ato nga dili gihapon maminyo sa formal process, no? In fact, it's covered in the family code book. So I forget what the term was. I didn't prepare for that one, but there's a term when people live together and everybody already considers
common law.
Well, common law is one of it, but there's a term for it. It's not informal marriage. There's a term for it. But there is, yeah, it's like having your live-in partner or something. So dinhi magud sa Pilipinas daghang tao nga dili ka afford sa proseso or sa celebration, no? Kay grabe kay gasto ana niya sa uban diha nga ang tibuok barangay ma-appeal. So it's really a commitment between two people, and then the marriage itself going through the formal process is more of a contract, and that way both parties are protected by the law. As far as you're right, it's all about the assets.
Anya paghuman kita ray naso diri sa kalibutan, except for the Vatican, of course, nga which is not a real nation, nga walay dissolution of marriage or divorce, right? Unsa imuhang stand na Mimo unya ngano man nganong wa man tay na divorce diri sa Pilipinas? I know that we're a Christian nation and all that stuff, but is that good for society nga walay diborsyo, or how do you feel about that?
Personal opinion ni siya, no? Of course, as far as religion is concerned, they have their own culture and their own beliefs. Like that, one of the main reasons why we don't have, well, technically we do have divorce. If you're Muslim in the Philippines, you can get a divorce.
Interesting.
So there is an exception to the rule, but 90% of the population in the Philippines are still Christian, and Christians are not supposed to have. Well, Catholics are not supposed to have divorce. And so the church is against the divorce, and their influence is still quite strong with the government. And so that's why we don't have divorce in this country. Whether it's good or not, I'm mixed. No, I can understand that not having divorce increases the commitment of the individuals. You have to find a solution to your if you have problems. I mean, people get divorced because there are problems. If there were no problems, why will they get divorced? So it adds a extra effort to find a solution. And there are marriage counselors. And sometimes, if your marriage is really bad and you have no choice, then you go to a marriage counselor to try to figure out. But ang sakto gyung buhaton is dili sa mo maminyo unless nga masigurado na mo nga sakto gyud ang inyong partnership. Yeah, lisod man gud na, because traditionally, I mean, even way in the past, it's like couples, there are things that couples cannot do until they are married. And so there's no way for you to find out if both partners are compatible until after the marriage. And if the marriage doesn't work, then there's no exit. Kay, lahi man gud nang kapuyo gyud mo. Kay kanang magsige lang mag-date. Every time nga mag-date ka, di ba? Muanda mangyud ka sa imong kaugalingon, no? So,
show your best foot forward.
Yeah, best foot forward. Oh, ligo ka. Toothbrush, hinapay. Nagapuyo na mo, ipukaws buntag, iniglingin mo. Kitsa man mo magkaila, kay wa na make-up. Wa ka kiba, bad breath ba? Kaya wa pananot brush. So those are things that are, bisag karon nga isigi tagkatawa, pero importante na siya. Wa ka kiba nga, inigabot is buy nga, sa banyo mismo kinsay ang unsang klaseng nga shampoo, unsang klaseng sabon niya, mag-away na di ay tungod ana, no? It's the little things actually that count. And so, it's not our culture here in the past did not encourage people to live with each
And
other.
no, premarital sex, that's also not allowed by
That's right,
Catholic Church, right?
by the church,
Oh.
and that's an important factor in a marriage, and
Mm.
you don't know if you're compatible. I mean, for 1,000 reasons. I mean, we can discuss that privately, but I don't think we should do it on the air. But there are many theories that I have, and I can understand why that can be a cause of problems in the future. Sometimes when couples, when you get attracted to each other, it's for different reasons. There's the physical attraction, and that's the number one incentive for people who want to get into a relationship. Whereas you don't know if you're compatible mentally and emotionally. Kanang kasabot mo silang intricacies. There are little things nga makalagot og doon na kay kuyog. Ginagmay lang, manggagmay. Tanawa ko si mong text. Tanawa, I mean, things like that. That, why problema, naana na kagingunan na, why problema? O di ka ganahan na you're very private about these things and your partner is the same way, then there's no problem also. But if one is extreme compared to the other one, or maybe little things like type of food you like to eat, And when you go out to restaurant, luto manas gawas sa balay kinsa may mo luto, no? If your wife doesn't like to cook, you don't like to cook, then you can't afford a cook. Magunsa mo.
Mag-itlog na lang mo.
But if both of you like to cook or one person likes to cook, malipay ang pikas. So there's so many little things. Now, a lot of the advice that people give is you work it out. But you work it out also, well, do you think the same way? Some people are very logical and they follow a certain process and you can explain and understand. Some people are emotional. And that's what I've understood about myself is I cannot explain things from an emotional point, and I cannot I can comprehend because I make an effort to comprehend the emotions behind it and but I approach it from a logical point of view. So I approach it that, because of the emotion, this, and that. Whereas you have situations where the person is just emotional, no matter how you explain, di siya kasabot. Kaya mo man ay iyang paagi sa iyang paghuna-huna, pag-isip, no? And that's true. There are so many types of personality. I mean, if you bring in the ideal person to talk to would be a psychologist who can explain lain-lain mantag personality, so lain sad ang reaction. Sometimes they say opposites attract. Well, maybe it attracts in the beginning and then ikadugay mag-away na sad.
You mentioned the word logical ba, Mimo ba?
Yeah.
Kanang gugmagod sometimes.
Yeah,
or most of the time, it's not a logical emotion, di ba?
Yeah, but let me correct you. Unsa gyud pasabot sa gugma? What is love? Because there's what they call infatuation.
Yeah, correct.
Di ka katog, sige ka huna na niya nga no man wa ko kibaw kay naas akong kasing-kasing That is completely illogical. If you're saying gikas akong kasing-kasing, because you're being driven by your hormones, you're being driven by the pheromones of that individual. If you say ganahan ko niya kay pinakagwapa. Dapat, gwapa inig bata, inig katiguang diya ana, maunsa naman, di ba? So it's not...
Even if bata pa mo niya, you're in love with somebody, right? Murag pagtuon mo pinakagwapa na siya nga tao sa kalibutan, although it's not true, right? I mean, there are probably other more beautiful people than that person, but you think pinakagwapo o pinakagwapa na sila kay na in love man ka, diba? So it's really it's really an illogical emotion.
Love is blind.
Yeah, exactly.
Love is blind.
So illogical yun na siya nga emotion kung
Well, tanaw nimo pure love, because na my love ko ganahan ko ani niya, but I don't want anybody to look at her. I don't want, that's jealousy. Jealousy is not love. It's possession. Ako ni why lain, diba? That's possession. Pure love is where you give yourself completely, no matter what that person does, you love them, so you want them to be happy. So whatever makes them happy, that's your option. That's pure love. Like when you love your children, you're willing to give your own life to protect your children. That's pure love. But when there are conditions, if it's conditional love, that's not the real pure love. So Simon Good, it's blind because it's not pure true love. If it's pure true love, there's no conditions, you just want that person to be happy, then that's a different form of love also. There's also, that's why I remember in high school, I competed in a elocution contest sa among eskwelahan. It was in Mandarin Chinese.
Wow, okay.
I didn't understand.
Why did you an elocution contest in Mandarin?
In Mandarin. May man ko memorize. Na-memorize
Oh
ako.
my
Pero-
God, really?
But eventually, it's like, it was I to Chima. There was, there's the love of a child for their parent. Then there's the love between friendship, among. Then there's the love of the opposite sex. That's, a different type of love again. Then there's the love of the older generation towards the younger generation, whether it's being a parent, grandparent, or something else, or. And then, we say things, oh, I love this kind of food, or I love it, It's, when we say love, it's an expression that's like the ultimate form of appreciation or want for something. I love ice cream. I love, extreme na siya. So, love is so difficult to define, and there are so many forms of love. So, marriage is about a partnership. So it's like when I chose my spouse, it was because we get along really well. I mean, we've been together for 6 years now, and we never run out of things to talk about. We're even during the reception, they put us a separate table, and we were just laughing on our own and talking to each other on our own. And everybody looks at us, and I said, well, that's why we got married, because we're like, we just fit so well,
So kanang kami niyoon diay in relation to love it is a kind of condition, right? Wala man nagkondisyon ni siya ang kami niyoon, di ba?
Well, that's if you. A lot of people get married for different reasons. No, it's about commitment to that person, and sometimes it's about raising a family, because there are couples. In fact, in the past, one of the questions I got was kanambuya. No, they said forced marriage, ba na? No, arranged marriage. They used to do a lot of arranged marriage for the strategy, of combining certain families and having certain influences. It's like, never mind if you don't love him, but it's important that katong mga hari sa una, ang ilang mga anak, paminyo dito sa pikas nga hari, aron di na sila mag-away.
O ilang kwarta dili mo gawas sa ilahang pamilya.
Yeah, well, that's the point. So it's dili na siya nga marriage because of love. It's a marriage because of convenience and strategy. And so line. Like I said, there were so many reasons for people to get married. And if you find out that you don't get along, and then people end up living separate lives, dili na may kanang separation, no? Legal separation. So di sila ka-divorce, so magpadayon na sila silang kinabuhi, pero inusara natin individual na on their own, So it's not very easy to answer.
So kaning wala pa may mga pangutana, so ako lang sa mangutana. But eventually, I'm sure there will be some questions from our listeners, from our
Well, I have a
viewers.
list. I have a list of questions that they actually sent.
Okay, but I think I need to follow up on
Sure.
on the question of marriage, but because marriage, Magod, is a religious institution, right? It is
Well-
actually
well-
in the Bible, right? So kanang kami niyon, mura marag kaning sacraments, right? One of the eight sacraments man na siya of
Well, it's the religion itself,
yeah.
which is like the Catholic religion has certain procedure, and Christian faith has a process. The Islam faith have their own also. So many religions have their own
versions of marriage, right?
of-
So kanang kami niyon sa in the Christian context, but it is a kind of a biblical concept, right? Naman na sa Biblia ang kami niyon, right? Unya paghuman kanang Biblia mo, that's unalterable, right? That's the ultimate word,
well, it's
right?
supposed to be, but
Supposed to be, right? Of course.
there's 1,000 versions of the Bible of the Christian
Yeah,
Bible. There's
yeah.
1,000 versions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. That's a slippery slope. But ako lang ganang storyahan, Mimo, is kanang marriage mo is biblical. So dili gina siya mausab in terms of the idea of what it is and
But-
all of that stuff. But the only thing that we all know,
Well, let me correct you.
Uh.
In the Philippines, it's a legal contract. So the church marriage is separate. So you don't have to get married in the church, but you have to follow whether you get married in the church or another religion. kinahanglan musunod gyapon ka sa requirements sa government. So that is more of a government requirement, not religion.
So pwede ka ma-minyo as a Christian, pero you must also legally be married.
Yes, because if you don't, it's not legal. Because I've heard many situations
pero
nga naminyo sila sa simbahan niya, wa sila mo process sa dokumento, dili na siya legal.
So okay na nang because like isn't the eyes of God more binding than the government?
Not according to our government.
No, but so you cannot enjoy the benefits of marriage kung dili ka legally married. That's what you're saying, right?
That's right. Because if you're talking about, again, kanang mga assets or unsa kunya imo kihaon nimo all that, di man na wa may dokumento nga minyo mo.
Sakto. So ang purpose gino na is really to be able to enjoy the benefits of marriage, right?
There's the legal requirements and there's the spiritual side of it. Okay. So a church wedding is more of the spiritual side, then you combine it with the legal side. But as far as you want the government to protect you, naman na sa ato constitution, separation of church and state. So ug wala kay legal document, dili na siya legal for the government to intervene. Of course, your church will intervene. Your pastor will help you, and but if you don't have the legal requirements,
so how is Philippine society better off without divorce? Do you think nga ang Pilipinas is better off without divorce?
no, I think they have that option from a legal point of view. That the person should be allowed to divorce from a legal point of view. From a religious point of view, that's a different story.
So, but because of course, divorce is not in the Philippines. Naman ang wala divorcio, di ba?
Yeah.
All over the world, there's divorce already. So, do you feel nga the Philippines is better off not having institutionalized divorce?
No, clearly the whole world has figured it out, except us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there should be legal divorce, but it's up to the spiritual side to decide whether that particular religion will allow divorce or not. If they don't allow divorce, then as a Christian or as a Catholic, you follow that.
Do you feel nga makadungog man ko isa i-discuss sa TV bitaw ka ng mga congressman maghisgot og divorce law, di ba? Mga senador maghisgot sila niya. Murag mahadlok gid sila ba? I feel like mahadlok sila because they'll be
Ostracized by the church.
in the shit list of the public, right? Because imong paminaw Mimo ang publiko, are they still anti-divorce? Do you feel nga kadaghanan kinabag-an sa katawhan sa Pilipinas is still anti-divorce?
Not anymore. I don't think so. If they really want to make sure pwede sila musunod sa gibuhat sa ubang mga nasod nga i-appeal nila referendum. Na ang mga tao magpili. So itawagan na Vox Populi, voice of the people.
Bitaw. So why haven't we done that?
I don't know.
And marriage, according to the Bible, is really the union between a man and a woman, right? How about because there's a lot of countries in the world also have opened up divorce even between the same genders, like man and a man, woman and a woman, and whatnot. How do you feel about including that in what the definition of marriage is in the Philippines?
Again, you have to separate the religious aspect and the legal aspect. The legal aspect in the family code book is to protect the two individuals who get married. And bottom line they're saying is protect the family. So if you have children, if you have offspring. Now, their argument against non-binary marriages is that they cannot have a family. And I think that's a wrong excuse because you can have couples, husband and wife, babae ug laki, na dili magkaanak. So sa they have no family, they have no rights. I know.
Adopt, di ba?
Well, you can adopt, but it doesn't matter. It's to make children, and I think that was the basis behind why they didn't want divorces, because to protect the children if you have children. But what if the couple cannot have children or have agreed not to have children? I know many couples, especially now, and I don't know the reason, whether it's because of the food we have, nga di sila magkaanak. Bisag unsaon nila nga moagi pa gani sila doktor kanang mga in vitro and all that. Wala gyapon. Yeah. So I know many members of the family who are trying to have children and cannot have children. So that's the main argument they use for the laws that we have, is to protect the family as a whole.
But
And
how about
that one I agree with.
what
That one I agree with.
legalizing same-sex marriage? How do you feel about that?
Well, again, it's your definition of what is marriage, no?
Legalizing ba? Meaning to say the government allows for it.
Yeah, as far as legalizing the contract between two people are concerned, I think it's not as critical to have them of the same sex. I think it's more critical as far as family is concerned, that they have to be husband and wife, male and female, because that's how you procreate, and technically. And so it becomes a matter of culture and religion already, and that's where the influence is. Because if you have two people, it's like you have business partners, and you become business partners. You sign an agreement between the two of you. They call it the shareholders agreement, or in the case of SEC, kana maghimo kag articles of incorporation and bylaws. And in the bylaws, you have the agreement. And imagine if you do business with somebody and you invest quite a lot of money, you're going to be spending more time probably with that person than with your own spouse. Sa mura kag naminyo sa imong partner, kay kada adlaw nakakuyog mo. 12 ka oras, sige mo kuyog. Niya abot sa balay na ang imong asawa or imong bana niya, 4 ka oras niya, matuog mo na mo niya. Pila na sa ka oras nga dili mo magsurya, di mo magkita niya, sunod adlaw balik na sa kasi mong business partner. So, I mean, what is the rationale behind this partnership? They just want to call it marriage. I think it's technical. It's a matter of just calling it technical. Two people want to live together and they want to share their lives together. It doesn't matter where. Now, having a family, that's a different story. But if two people are in love with each other and they spend time together and they want to share their lives together, parehas na sa imong mga amigo nga suod kay kay. Sometimes dagan kung kailang mga laki, hindi ganahan pauli silang mga asawa, mas ganahan silang mag-standby, magkuyog silang mga amigo. But there's no legal format for that now. So it's very complicated and it's very emotional. It's a very emotional thing about the
Kanang same-sex marriage.
No, I mean about the feelings of two people. It's if you look at it from technical good, you look at the logic. What my logic yun nga dili pwede ang duha ka same-sex marriage. Kaya kuan man na siya, sabot man na sa duha ka tawo niya, na sila'y kontrata. In some places I know they still don't allow same-sex marriage, but pwede sila mag-contract. So they can still have a contract. So ang kuwang na lang ang katong calling it a marriage. Just calling it a marriage.
But
so
any two people can have a contract, period, right?
That's right. That's right. But these people want to call it a marriage because it's like what I just experienced. We've been together for 6 years, and now because of that process, that ceremony, which is very important here, it changes the feeling of the connection with that person. And that's why probably kanang mga same-sex marriage, ganahan sila nga, sugtan sad na sila nga maka-perform anang ceremony because they can have their own ceremony but they cannot sign a marriage contract, So it's more of a personal thing. And I think they have the right. They have the right to that, and it doesn't have to do with religion. Doesn't have to do with. It has to do with the two individuals. So I can understand. Yeah.
Okay. Naam kakadaghang mga pangutana diha sa ato ang mga Kaigsuunan na Mimo, maybe ato nang tanawon diha kay murag ako ra dominate sa mga pangutana da murag maikog sa uban natong mga kaigsuunan nga ganahan pud mangutana ni Mimo. We're here live at the Tops Media Center studios. Mimo Osmena here, of course, with our own version of Lamdag. We are all enlightened here today with Mimo Osmena. Ako na sobraan sa ko ka-enlightened kay ang akong mata murag nasuwawa nagmayo sa suga sa ako ang uluhan.
Well, there was one question yesterday nga, parang ako nindot siyang pangutana, pero lisod to bagon. Technical magug kayo. And at least kung natay video, then you can explain it with your hands or nakay whiteboard. Kana bitang 3D sa mga sinehan.
3D.
O, giyon sana nila.
Good question, good question. Naman na sa IMAX, di ba? Sa IMAX, sa SM, di ba?
Na may TV, makapalit, Samsung TV niya, musulob kag.
Ang akong mga anak, di yun ganahan ng kanang 3D, kay maglabad ilang ulo. Maglabad ilang ulo.
Well, the answer is this. ang atong mata duha ni kabuok ug mupiyong kas usa. Ang tanang nga imong makita 2D.
2D.
Yeah. So you close one eye. Everything's 2D. Inigabli ni mo speakers diha na siya ma 3D.
3D, oh.
Mo na siya.
Nanay deaf siya.
Nanay.
Muna gilaw mo.
Kay ang atong utok mo interpret sa suga nga nisud sa atong mata. So kinahanglan nga duha gyud ka retrato ang atong makita. Kaniadto sa I think it was early 1900s or late 1800s that they invented katong stereoscopic nga duha ka retrato niya. Nakaisulubon niya itanaw nimo 3D picture. So mo na ang suga nga musud usa ka mata ug ang retrato or ang view nimo lahi sa pikas. So og naas duol muna kag malibat, di ba? Kay mutana makas duol. Nya mutana kag layo mura sa nahimo kag mura kag manukon. So ang kanang salida sa IMAX duha na siya ka film nga gadagan. So but ang problema ug magtanaw kag duha malipong ka kay duha man. So kinahanglan nga mangita sila paagi nga usa ra gyud masud sa imong mata sa tuo, usa ra sad masud sa imong mata sa wala. So ang ilang gibuhat gitawag na siya polarized lens, no? Kay ang suga bungkag man ni siya. Pero dunay paagi nga pwede na nimo nga ang waves sa suga sa usa vertical, ang waves sa suga sa pikas horizontal, so that ang katong salida mismo ang usa ka retrato dito vertical sad, ang pikas sad horizontal. So inig sud atong antipara usa ray makasud, kay ang usa ka vertical makasud sa vertical, ang usa ka parallel ngadto sa horizontal ngadto sa horizontal. Mo na inig tanaw nimo duha na ka salida nga imong gitanaw niya, ang antipara mo mubahin sa mga salida. Mo na og tangtangon to imong 3D glasses. Malaba di mo kay duha man kabok. Unya og mulingi isa ka kamutuyok ang imong ana niya mawa na tong iyang polarized direction, mawa na sa ng salida mo na kinahanglan mo tanaw kag salida nga 3D o diretso gyud kag tanaw.
Mo din ang 3D di ay.
Mo na ma 3D siya.
Kibaw ka curious ko Mim, unsa may imong paborito nga recent movie? Kaya nga ako ang paboritong movie recently na nakita na ko just a few years ago atong Oppenheimer bitaw. Ganahan kay ka gwapo sa kito tanaw sa sinihan gyud. Pero ikaw unsa man imong recent favorite nga mga salida memes?
Well, ganahan ko sa mga sci-fi.
Okay.
You know, so but yeah, Top Gun's always been
of course,
the first one that came out. Nakahinumdum ko sa paggawas gyud sa primerong Top Gun. Sunod adlaw nilupad ko gitesting na ko mga
ang F-16?
Not F-16.
Some kind of jet?
No, I was flying a aerobatic plane.
Okay.
So it was called a decathlon.
Wow.
So katong ilang gibuhat nga katong split S nya katong namatay si Goose nga ilang nasa flat spin sila. Mabuhat man na sa aerobatic plane niya. Dali ramang magawas kay.
So makabuhat ko itong exhibition niya?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Danda ka na ilang high G maneuver.
Mga high G.
Yeah, danda nga hapit na gyud nga kanang nigisugod na when you hit about 5.5 Gs, musugod nagbuwa ang imong tanaw buwa niya. Ug padayon pa na nimo mo black na siya.
Imong pananaw mamuwa?
Mamuwa.
Like literally
red out. It's called a red out because
so your eyes will see red.
Start seeing red.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
So it happened to you.
When you start, when you go upside down and you start pulling negative G's, na mupuan na siya kaya ang dugo na si mong mata.
Oh my God, really?
That's a sign nga you're hitting your limit, so you have to release. Don't force it.
Wala na siya permanent damage, makosa na niya?
Not if you know what you're doing and you don't push it. You don't push it. No.
So ganahan kag Top Gun. How do you feel about the Maverick, which was a few years ago also? Katong Maverick, part 2 ba nga kuan ba nga
Yeah,
Top Gun ba?
that's the part 2. Yeah. It was fun. I mean, if you like the adrenaline and you can appreciate what they're doing, you can feel it also inside. So, lingaw gyud, lingaw.
Kana si kuan ba kana si Tom Cruise ba, di ba? Scientologist man na siya, di ba?
Yeah.
Scientology man na siya kaning unsa ka curious lang ko. So,
yeah, because there are so many members of his religion. Why aren't they also Top Gun actors? It's his ability to be an actor.
Okay. So speaking of religion, baganahan ko maghisgot aning kaning katuwit kang kibuloy bitaw. Pero I think intriga kay ko kanang iyahang kingdom of Jesus Christ ba. Kanang di ba ang iyang declaration sa kalibutan is that he is the chosen son of God, di ba? Mo man ang
Anointed.
anointed the son of God, right?
Yeah.
Dili gigit choose, anoint pagid siya.
Yeah.
How do you feel about why such people have 6 million pananaw ni mo memes nganong powerful mangyapon kayo kanang inanang ang mga tao in this day and age in 2024 when we have all the information that we can gather, we
Yeah.
can get.
Well, I guess the key word is not how do you feel, it's what do you think.
Exactly. But okay,
It's using belief, hope. Most of it is hope that there's a higher power that's going to influence your life. And so when people start preaching about you being favored and there's that hope, it's very catchy. Any religion, for that matter, not just specifically his. So it doesn't matter. We cannot say one religion versus another because then you're going into, like you said, you're going down that rabbit hole. No?
this is very interesting, right? Nga grabe kay siya og power ba and all of that stuff.
Well, it's the belief. It's the people believe. He has the charisma. He can explain. He can say things, and then people believe him, or people want to believe him. I mean, there are those religions that say, if you believe, then you are saved, and so they follow. They want that. We human beings want.
Mahadlok ta nga mamatay ta niya maura ni ana bitaw murag diha ko na ni spring out kanang religion. How do you feel about that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's part of it. No, it's one of the aspects. But if you look at the other religions, if you want to do a comparison of the Eastern versus the Western religions, ang akong pasabot sa Western religions are
Christianity, di ba?
Christianity is a Western religion, Islam is a Western religion, Judaism is a Western religion. They have very common origins. The Torah, the Old Testament, and also the Quran, they talk about the same origins. Abraham, and then there was the great flood, Noah. So they have that. Then the Eastern religions,
Abrahamic religions, di ba? They call it.
and then even when even those religions themselves split up, and they have so many different sects, just like Christianity. Catholicism started, having the offshoots, the Protestants, and then before you know it, there are even more, including Kibuloy. He would be considered as one of the offshoots. Whereas the West in the Western religions, they believe that when they die, they will have an afterlife, and then continue on forever in that afterlife. In the Eastern religions, it's different. It's when you die, you will be reborn until you have completely cleansed yourself, and then you will stop be reborn.
Reincarnation.
You will stop. So the way nirvana was explained to me before was it's like blowing out of the candle. So ang ilang objective is to stop existing, to stop coming back, to stop suffering, because every time you come back, you suffer. So you want to stop the suffering, so you stop being born. Whereas in the Western religions, you want to live forever. So in Eastern religions, you want to stop living forever. Bali. So religion is a very personal thing. It's very passion. There's so much emotion involved in it. So you cannot debate religion with a person because it's within themselves. It's like the word faith. What does faith mean? To believe in something without proof. So how can you argue a religion when it's based on faith? That means there's no need to have proof. You believe in something because it's your faith.
ikaw Mims, kaning unsa man imong pagtuo anang relihiyon? What do you think about it? How do you think about it?
What do I think about religion? It's got its purpose and its use.
You mentioned the word evolution ganiha on sometimes or most of the time. Kung if you believe in Darwin's theory of evolution, medyo maglisod na ka og correlate ana sa relihiyon kay ang pagtuuan ng evolution is kanang kita wa man tagihimo, di ba? Ni evolve man ta from a single cell.
But again, that becomes more of interpretation, di ba? because they'll say, well, the Bible talks about the Big Bang. So when God created the universe, it started out, then science discovered that there was a Big Bang, and so it makes sense. And then you say that God created the universe in 7 days. Some are very literal and say, yeah, there were 7 days. And then some, like in the Jesuit, I went to a Jesuit school. They're saying, no, it's periods. The first period was when God created light, which was the Big Bang, and they justify that. Now they're saying that maybe the Big Bang didn't really happen, or maybe we have a pulsating universe, but that's beyond already. Then you have the second day where he created, the heaven and the earth, and then so the planets. And then science can say, well, yeah, when the Earth started, it was a ball of lava, and then eventually, it was hit by comets that had lots of water, and then water started to form. The planet started to cool, so that's it. Then he started to create, So it can still follow the teachings of the Bible if you interpret it that way. But if you want to be literal, say 7 days niya, pila man ka oras ang usa ka adlaw, say 24 nga 24 man kay ang kalibutan mo tuyo kog 24, but it's not. It's 23 something, and it changes, and that's why we have to adjust the watch. That's why we have a leap year, because even our calendar was invented by the Pope Gregory. That's why it's called the Gregorian calendar. So nagsige nag-ilis, So it becomes difficult when you start trying to make something spiritual logical. It doesn't work.
So ikaw, in your logical brain, unsa man ka kaning nituo ka nga na higher power out there, or wala?
Again, you cannot just assume one thing by saying higher power. You have to define it, because you say, some people say like,
is there somebody who created you and me? How about that?
My parents. No. It's like definition of God. What do you
Okay.
mean by God? Okay. You say, do you believe in God? I say, well, what do you mean by God? You'll say, if you say, oh, our God is the golden bull. Oh, I don't believe in that.
So what do you believe in? How about that? How about that?
Yeah.
What does Mimo Osmena
Yeah,
believe in?
I believe in a higher consciousness that's responsible for everything. Now, as far as the Catholic faith, the Jesuits agree with that, saying that's the same thing. So that works. So I say, well, the whole universe, it's this thing beyond comprehension, because tanawa ra gud ang atong utok, kagamay ning utok, unsaon nato pagsabot sa tibok universe. So we're just guessing na like this or like that, and you use your faith to believe in God, and you have your own personal understanding of what you think is God, but you can never understand God, because we're just one tiny speck in the whole universe. How do you expect us to understand fully? Because if I could understand fully, then I am God. So only God can understand that. Now, you're saying
So
if it's...
it seems to me that you have landed on a definition of what God is, because you mentioned God.
I have my own definition
a few
of...
times there in that
Yeah.
in that sentence.
Yeah.
So unsa may imong what is God to you? Day katong ingon ka.
God is someone I cannot... God is something, or I cannot explain, because I am very limited. But I believe in something that's more than me. Right? Not a personal God who's, saying Amoni,
Watching over us, watching over us,
giving me...
answering prayers.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't believe in that kind of God?
No.
Ingon sila nga kana kanong dili mo to o Ginoo, kanang atheist kuno is the final prejudice that we need to conquer. Pwede kuno nga naay mga presidente nga African American, pwede naay puruhan nga mga presidente nga bayot, pero kanong atheist kuno dili ikuno lang mga presidente, or they will never be elected to a higher position in society. What are your thoughts on that? Ngano man gyud nga kanang atheist dili man ganahan ang mga tawa na nila most of the time in most situations all over the world?
Well, if you're a religious person, you have your prejudices against non-religious persons. But the non-religious person will also have a prejudice against religious persons. So it depends who's voting for who. And there's an atheist is somebody who says 100% na sigurado sila nga walay God. But then again, I'll sit down with that atheist and I say, well, define what you mean by there is no God. Well, unsay pasabot nimo nga God? He say, well, the God is that golden bull. I said, well, I agree. I don't believe that the golden bull is God. So does that make me an atheist? If you believe in the golden bull, I'm an atheist. But, but I have my own beliefs. So I'm not an atheist. I'm a theist, right? and I did a lot of studies, in fact, on the religions, and saying that there is something difficult to understand about religion, and really nice to discuss, and sometimes it takes days to discuss it.
Forever. Why kumana na?
Yeah, why kumanan? Okay, how do you explain something spiritual in a physical form? So, kadaghanan mas mga tao di man na sila kasabot ana. So ang buhaton ana, they make it physical. You say in heaven the streets are made of gold, so that you will think how precious heaven is relating to it if it's purely spiritual. It's the same topic as if I talk to you about three-dimensional objects. You can think of a three-dimensional object, but if I start talking to you about four-dimensional objects, 4 dimensions. So when you think of spirituality, if you think of heaven, you have a degree in physics. I say maybe I have a degree in metaphysics because I'm thinking of something that's beyond the physical. Or I have conjectures beyond the physical, or theories about beyond the physical where I extrapolate. And so that's the complexity of religion. Lisod manggod sabton ang spiritual, kaya nga atong huna-huna sa tanang mga butang physical. So that's why you argue, how do you believe in this, that God is sitting on a throne, or you take a handkerchief and you fold it 3 times. And
Try to imagine a world without religion,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. Kanang gubat ron sa Israel and sa Palestine and all that stuff, and the other wars as well. They're saying of Mimo that we have all of these religions. Or are we better off in that world that John Lennon imagined nga wala tay relihiyon?
Only God can answer that.
But how do you think about that?
Okay. People are different. In an ideal universe, and we were all like bumblebees serving one queen, then everybody works hard, then communism becomes the ideal form of government. But the reason why communism failed is because, in theory, like, everybody works and gives everything we can to the state, and the state gives us what we need. Nga nung trabaho man ko, mawara manggihapon ako madawat. So there are people who don't want the effort. Human beings want to have a reward, right? So they use the reward incentive. So I'll say, well, if you work harder and you do better, I'll give you more. But that's not equality. So that's why in this world, it's like, and I experience this a lot. I help people. I offer them certain things like special deals on being able to own their own properties and all that. Mag-ilog, and then after that, some of them want to have more, and some of them, it's natural for human beings, and that's why there's no one answer. Why Osaka tubag or Osaka solution? It's too complex and too dynamic to be able to answer those things.
So you have no answer for that question. If the world is better off with or without religion?
Oh, no, that one is simple. I think the world is better off with religion. Yeah, we definitely need religion.
With all of different religions, or one religion lang?
Well, it's again all different cultures, all different. So it's like saying, I cannot have one kind of building design and put it all over the world, because ang ubang lugar diha bas, ang uban lapok, ang uban bato, so lain-lain na siya. So lain-lain og kultura, lain-lain. So they probably need something different. I mean, what works for them? But it's all the same thing. It's about promoting goodness. It's about promoting compassion. The problem in the world is there's too much suffering, and this is sounding more like Buddhism. And Buddha is not God. Buddha is a title for a man who understood things already. And he was saying that there's so much suffering in the world, and we create that suffering ourselves. And so you need to be altruistic, really, to remove that. But then humans are innately selfish. You see it every day. And even if you try, then you'll end up losing. Because if you look at the animals, it's the selfish animals who end up winning. But we have to evolve beyond that, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and get to the point where humans become more compassionate.
Ingon sila nga kaning ang humans kuno ba kaning we evolved differently, right? Because we are able to invent all of these gadgets, these machines, these technologies that allow us to to be in an air-conditioned room, for example, and not die of heat, or be in a heated room and not
Control
die
our
of,
environment. Yeah.
we can control our environment. But if we're placed out there in the wild, mga matay ta, we're gonna all die off, right? Because we are not physically evolved to withstand
No,
all of
I
the
disagree.
with all of the coldness when you survived Utah, right? Salt Lake, right? But I think ang ato ang pag-evolve, we evolved differently now because of all of these technologies, right?
No, but people adapt.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like let's say, example, if we were in a nuclear war and everything got wiped out and technology got wiped out, there's no reason we can adapt. Now, some people have more skills and more knowledge. I mean, I know how to source water and filter water. I know how to make electronics from scratch. Digging the ground and getting minerals and building. It will start again. It's the convenience.
But the argument is that kita ko nung mga tao ko no, because we're smarter than most of the animals in the world. That's why we're able to survive. If we did not evolve a bigger brain, then maybe we would have been wiped out with the dinosaurs. That's what they're saying.
We didn't exist when the dinosaurs were
No,
here.
no.
But
What I mean is, we suffer the fate of the dinosaurs.
we still could. We're only been around for 2 million years.
Yeah,
The dinosaurs were around for hundreds of millions of
Yeah,
years.
but
So
we're so quote unquote smart. We're able to build bunkers, for example, in the event of a nuclear attack and all of that stuff, right? So we can fly out of here if the world is not livable anymore.
yeah, that's the plan. You think and you prepare.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so you plan.
Yeah.
You plan for emergencies. You plan for options because it's almost a certainty that our world will be destroyed by
Really
the
now,
sun.
you think so? You think so?
I'm 100% sure.
No. The sun is like a few billion years away
Yeah,
from
yeah,
now, right?
3 billion years
But
ito.
Elon Musk seems to believe we're about to annihilate ourselves in the near future. That's
Well,
why he's
that's a
thinking.
different thing.
How do you feel about that? Do you think Elon Musk is out of his mind by trying to conquer and try to figure out whether we can live in Mars and all of that stuff?
No. I think that's one of the strengths of human beings is we are looking at different possibilities and we're looking at possible solutions just in case. Di ba? Taningli ka na, magtukod kag balay, kay bawa kang kusog na kay mga bagyo ron. So mag-andam na ka, ana niya, maging ka, kuha ni, akong gamiton ini, maggamit na kog semento, ron, protektado na akong balay. I mean, what if there's no typhoon? Nag-usik lang ka, but I mean, if it happens, mabuhi ka. So, well, the other option is before nabuhi mangyapon ng atong mga ancestors, tago sila sa langob, so mangita kag langob. But the problem now is we have 8 billion people. So,
8 billion strong.
so you have the case of the pandemic. Daghan nga matay sa pandemic, di ba? Pero naka-imbento sila, nagdali sila imbento og vaccine. So daghan sa nang natabang atong vaccine, daghan sa nang matay. But there's always a possibility that what's the possibility that another virus will come out that will cause a pandemic? 100%. It's going to happen again because every day na gyapon. Tumuilis ang nagamay na, daghan na sang mamatay, mag-imbento na sa sila glaing nga vaccine. But we're always trying. I mean, human beings always are resilient. They always find a way, So far, and the moment we can't do it, let's say another meteor will come here before we build a base in Mars.
Speaking of COVID, Mimo ba, nag-ingon sila nga, it's only going to be a extinction of the species event nga maka-unite nato as a people, right? And I told them nga, katong COVID, that was a sample of an extinction level event ba nga. Supposedly, mag-cooperate ato ang with each other because we face a common enemy, which was COVID. Wa magay na nahitabo. Wala magay ta nag-cooperate. The world was still, in fact, it was politicized katong COVID, di ba? Katong mask wearers and anti-vaxxers and all of that stuff. How do you feel about, what do you think about that, Mims? Why is it that even if we have an extinction level threat like COVID, or maybe like you said, a meteor, murag di magyapon ta magasinabot nga naman na.
Yeah, because it's human nature. There are no two people that are the same. People will find opportunity in situations like that. It will always happen. It will always happen. There will always be pro and there will always be anti.
So dili wala gyud event sa kalibutan nga mag-unite nato as a people,
Well,
as a species.
well, I'll use the example ka ng mga alien nga mga sini.
Alien
diba?
invasion.
Alien invasion.
Independence Day.
Nag-unite ang mga tao. Pero sila mismo mag-away gihapon. Naka sa bunker on saan yan ay pagkaon katong mag-away gihapon sa pagkaon, but most of it, majority work together. I mean, the pharmaceuticals got together. We were able to find a vaccine, and we were able to kadaghanan, majority of the people followed the rules and regulations. And there are anti-vaxxers and di yun na mawa. There's always, but that's the way evolution designed it. That you will have mutations and you will have successful mutations, and those successful mutations will continue growing, and those that do not grow or do not find better solutions or do not plan for it will eventually get removed from the gene pool. And if the entire species itself makes major mistakes all the time, it'll be removed. Ang sunod tingali nga mo progress ang mga ok-ok. So maybe 10 billion years from now or 10 million years from now, the dominant species will be ok-ok.
Why not, right? Why not? We are kind of ok-oks if you think about it.
So it's a question. Like, I mean, I can start trying to help people think about bringing in compassion and how caring and helping and cooperating and all that. But it's going to be limited because there will be people who will still take advantage, take the opportunity, go against it, try to stop you. It's just human nature.
I think that's also where the fun begins, right? Because imagine if we're all homogenous. Imagine if we're all the same. Put this like sigurong buringa.
Yeah, true. But I mean, look at this all started with Kibuloy.
Yeah.
What if Kibuloy is right? What if he's the only one who's right? Diba?
You'll never know. You can never answer that question, right?
So kitang tanan sa iyo, ang iyang mga tao, his people are the ones who will be saved, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's an example. Everybody thinks it's not, everybody, but he has 6 million followers who believe in him. What if he's right?
Yeah, exactly. Dili ka mahadlok na, Mims.
No.
Dili ka mahadlok. What if nituo ka o Ginoo nga dili mao, for example?
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah.
Do you think about that? What if the God?
Well, I used to think that when I was young. I said, but what does it matter? I mean, I make my decisions because I believe in what I'm doing. I believe what's right and what's wrong, and I do things, whether it's integrity or delicadeza or what. And if I make a mistake, well, that's my fault that I make a mistake. But there's no point in second guessing your decision. I mean, you don't think about too far in the future. It's about now, and it's about. Well, my personal goal is, I know I cannot change the world, but maybe I can make a difference to some people's lives. So I'll start there. Now they're saying, oh, you should get into politics, but politics is quite messy too because it's another dynamics, right? So maybe on a personal note, like the radio program, Lamdag. Malamdag ang mga tao, kasabot na sila. At least maybe I can remove some of their problems, some of the issues. Because like I've said many times, we create 90% of our own problems.
Nag-mention ka ganiha og Eastern og Western philosophies and religion ba? Ikaw, asam ka ni lean towards? Are you more of a Eastern? Eastern ka. So more ka Hinduism, Buddhism, and all of that stuff, right?
There are theories out there that Jesus Christ was following a lot of the Buddhist theories, about compassion, love thy neighbor. The Old Testament was very different. It was an eye for an eye. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. So that's very different, right? It's almost conflicting. And if you interpret that, there's millions of interpretations. I'm sure the theologians, the priests, and all that, they have an answer for that. Everybody has an answer for that. But personally, I mean, and then some people I know who would say, well, why would you turn the other cheek? That's stupid. You take advantage, you press your advantage, in order to be dominant. You have to be an alpha. Don't be a beta, But we don't know who's right in the long run, in a billion years. It might be the compassionate ones are the ones who are right, or maybe it's the alphas who are right. We don't know. But that's how nature made us. We have to try and see which ones succeed. Now, if the ones who succeed make a big mistake, na ma-wipe out ta. So, mga ok-ok na sad.
No, but this is a really nice topic. But you can talk for days.
Exactly,
Days.
exactly.
And there are people who will be emotional about it. You know.
Exactly. Interesting mga conversation. And I think, Manggod, ang atong, my concern in this conversation, kaning inani nga story about religion, politics, is ang ubang tao, Manggod, dili sila makahibaw mo mag-conversation about this, nga kanang kalma lang bitaw. Gastorya na ram tagod. Pwede man ta nga dili ta magasinabot, pwede man ko nga pwede man nga imuhang pagtuo murag maglagot ko pero but I don't have to show it. Magstorya na lang tagod. Migo ra magipatay guman ana bitaw. I think we have lost the art of conversation. Ngano man na mem tan-aw nimong ang mga tao karon medyo dili man sila maka-stand og conversations, let's say about religion, murag ay di na magstorya na. Ana bitaw murag inana ilang feeling mga ngano magstorya ram tagod, magstorya na ilang tanga. What's wrong with having a conversation?
Because you're attacking the core of their life.
Okay.
You know, so it's the most important thing to them. They're very passionate about it. So mo nang mo depensa gyud sila. Bahalag kabaw na sila sayop sila mo depensa gyud because that's the most important thing.
Double down sila.
And if you're a person of faith, nothing in the world matters other than your faith. Because our lives our short lives have no value but it's not important at all because what's most important is your faith and what you believe. You're here, you're soldiers of God.
Exactly.
So mo na mag-away na sila because bisag parehas na sila pagtuo. Ang usa dinhi ang ilang religion tuo sila sa Ginoo, ang pikas mo tuo sa Ginoo niya mag-away na sila ng duha niya mag-ampo ang duha. Yeah, Lord, please let me win this battle. Pikas at please let me win. Unsa may buhaton sa Ginoo, yang flip a coin. Sorry, you lose.
Mo nang ang relihiyon sometimes ma-weaponize, ma-dangerous ba?
Yes.
Because ang pagtuo sa mga tao, grabe kayo nga they don't mind riding a plane into a building because they believe in
their
the thing.
faith is stronger.
Mo lagi kanang relihiyon sometimes if hununaon nimo, it can make people do stuff that they would not normally do because they have faith, right?
Then,
which is kind of dangerous too, right?
Yeah, and it's a question of the ones who interpret it. So if you're the religious leader and you tell them, what we're doing in our lives to help people and to bring you to the kingdom and this and that, but we have an enemy. So lahi na na. So lahi na sila. They're not with us. So we have to fight them to protect them. Na sila mag-away.
Mo good. So mo lagi nga there's a huge argument that religion is dangerous if a person or a group of people have a tremendous faith about something. Makigpatay gyud sila.
A ballpen is dangerous because you can use it as a weapon too.
Correct, yeah, correct.
So and there are even arguments kanang sa US kanang ilang Second Amendment, a right to bear arms.
Bear arms,
yeah. Then so people say, no, it's very dangerous and all that. No, guns don't kill people. It's people who kill people.
Correct, but the presence of guns increase the likelihood of people killing each other because they're everywhere, right?
Yeah, or knives. But the Philippines has so many guns, but we don't hear all the cases like in the U.S. Why?
I have no idea. I don't live in the United States, so I cannot tell you why. But I think kuan gina sila gun culture mo ginang Amerika. I think maybe illegal guns siguro sa Pilipinas daghan siguro pero kaning in terms of per capita, like number of people with guns, I don't think we have a lot of people.
I think it's pretty high, but
not United States level. I don't think so. Grabe, each person there.
No, but the problem is that to get a gun there so easy. Just go, you buy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Wala pa kay
Yeah.
background check.
Then he sa ato you have to
Listen.
take a psychological exam. You have to take a drug test, which is good.
Yeah. Ano ka sa nga dito gisayon man tungod siguro na sa mga gun lobbyists nga kaning murag ganahan gud silang mahalin lang posil so nang ano man.
I saw there was a hearing and this immigrant from China showed up and said, I grew up in China when Mao Zedong came and the government took over and killed how many millions of people. I'm not giving up my guns. Babae ra ba?
kanang right to bear arms ba, Second Amendment, wala na sa atong Constitution. So, okay, kuha na sa Philippines. Wala gyud na siya in the beginning.
Yeah, no, it's never been.
Nga nung nagibutang nila, hadlok sila nga.
That's an amendment. That's not the original Constitution.
In the United States. Okay, so kanang second.
That's why Second Amendment. Because
di ay.
hadlok sila nga ang gobyerno mo take over niya, mo control sa mga tao. So they want the population to be more armed than the government. So that's why they said you right to bear arms. But then that's why people are saying ang ilang argument nga karon stricto na sila so kwaon nang atong mga pusil aron sila na mo control nato. Mo nay. So
Nagisgot makagpolitika ganiha Mims ba niya kaning I think in a way your political family, di ba? Your dad used to be governor and I think he ran for president and all of that stuff niya. It's in your blood, right? But nagisgot sa kan medyo politika kaning murag gubot, di ba? Murag samok sa, di ba? So kaning unsa magyud nakasamok sa politika?
well, I mean, politics itself is different from running a government. You know, you have certain skills that people should have in running day-to-day operations, in having the vision for whether it's a corporation or for the country. And then there's the politics. It's how people interact and deal with each other, how individuals have different objectives. Kaya kung imong tuyo, ma-re-elect ka, for the next 3 years, you're just gonna focus on your campaign. So you're gonna leave behind the things that you need to do for your particular area. And so many politicians, that's their focus. Kaya ganahan sila nga ma-re-elect na sila. Nga mabiyaan na hinoon ang ilang trabaho. So, and then so it's a matter of planning, doing deals, having alliances, and then that's why they say Tito Sani was an astute politician, and he used to say there are no permanent enemies in politics. There's only permanent interest. So you hear about families that are fighting each other, that are shooting each other, and then eventually allied. They become allies. You know, it's the same, and nothing's new. Not just Philippines. It's been going on for thousands of years. Look at America now between Trump, the Republicans, and the Democrats. More magyapon.
I'm curious, but I've always wondered about this, and maybe I should ask you this since we are here already about the Osmenias. Ba, you don't have to answer this question, but I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Ningon sila nga kana ko ng mga pamilya kano, including the Osmenias. Usually, when they go home in their respective homes, they're one family. Pero mag-away-away na sila in public. Kaya nangitabo ro ni Marcos kanuhay nga ay mi murag na siya gamay pushback sa iyang igsuon and all that stuff. So ako pangutana diri Mims is kanang Osmeña feud kanang di ba mura matog ng Osmenias dili man
Dad and Sani.
Your dad and Emilio Osmeña and Sani did not have a good relationship. Was it just for show or was it real?
No, it was real. It was real. I mean, you know, it's jealousy. You know, one did this, the other did that. One says this, one says that. But eventually, I'm glad that wala sila mag-away. Eventually, they got back together, and you know, I guess when they got old, it's like like I said, we create 90% of our problems. They created their own problems. Kaya ang usa is like, oh, somebody said, oh, he did a good job. Maselos na sa itong pikas. Ano siya man? Ako man. But unsa man na? Garbo man na. You know? So you have to learn to let go of a lot of things. I mean, I read somebody let me read a book 40 years ago and really changed my life because I realized there's so many things that we make such a big deal of that's not important.
Was it The Art of Letting Go? What book was this?
No, it was called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Okay, wow. I think I've read that too.
Yeah, but it depends also how you interpret it. You know? So it's like 1,000 years from now, you and I won't be here. Nobody will remember us.
Nobody cares.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't care. You know. So
Ningon man sila good nga kanang pamilya ko no kinanglan maglain-lain gyud sila alliances for survival.
Yeah, and you know families
As a strategy ba?
Okay. You know when you say family, unsa pasabot nimo family because ang imong mga anak tunga na lang na nimo.
Yeah,
ang imong mga apo 1/4 na lang na nimo.
Mga anak kung mga igagaw, mga igsuon and all that stuff. Kanang yung apelyido, how about that?
Apelyido mo sige mag-ilis man sad. You know.
Mga pariente.
When was it? Osmeña Day was last Monday.
Yeah.
And I was invited to give the speech in the Region 7 camp of the police. And I said, I asked, I've never met Don Sergio because he died before I was born.
And so it's what I know about him is from what I've read in books and what my family just told me, especially my dad, who was orphaned during the war when his father was killed by the Japanese. And so he grew up with Lolo Serio. He said, Lolo Serio, delicadeza. It's a matter of doing what's right. And so he told me a lot of stories about that. And you have to look at the history of the family. Lolo Serio had an uncle named Guillermo. Guillermo was the lawyer of the Parian Church of Cebu, and he was exiled to Manila. That's what Dad said. And he was a teacher in Santo Tomas, and he was the teacher of Andres Bonifacio. I mean, if you Google it, you say Guillermo Osmena, professor of Andres Bonifacio. So they were planning the rebellion already against the Spanish. And Lolo Serio wanted to join them. And they said, no. They said, iho, kay kinachila man to sa ila sa una. Unya na ka sa paghuman na sa rebellion. So that's why he stepped into government. And it was all about, getting this country free from colonialism. And it didn't happen until 1946 was the actual independence, July 4th, 1946, not June 12, 1898. That was from the Spanish. But then America bought the Philippines from Spain, and we became a colony of the United States until 1946. So the family's been involved in politics for 150 years, more. So you see all kinds. And then how many relatives? Dad had 42 first cousins, and the last name, Don Serio, actually was not Osmeña. Kaya ang iyang papa, we did a DNA test and we found out it was Antonio Sanson. So we are Sanson actually, so we're related to this. I found out that many of my friends, some from Iloilo, agaw din ako kay, and I didn't know that. We were just friends. Yeah, of all places, he's from Iloilo, dili taga Cebu and all that. Parente di ay. He said, so ingon siya, tawag na siya tito nako. I said, no, kay tanawa ang kato si lolo, ikay tito nako, dili ako. So it's not simple. I mean, everything is very complicated. It's just a question of figuring out what it is. And sometimes I teach certain courses, entrepreneurship, do business, which would be a good program we can do here so people can get ideas about their business. I teach a class on how to think outside of the box, which is innovation. And then always at the end, I say, but what's your objective? And I asked this to my wife too before when I met her early on. What's your objective in life? You want to be rich? What do you mean rich? Like when you die, you'll be a billionaire? And then what's going to happen to your billions, right? It doesn't matter. They'll build you a statue and then you're dead, right? What does it matter? Do you think that in heaven they're going to say, oh, look, he has a statue down in the earth? And then 1 billion years from now, not even our cities will exist. They're all gone to earth. So what's really important? What do you want to, what's your life about? And the people always say, look for the meaning of life. And I say, well, I guess the most important question is there a meaning?
That's another good question, right? Is there a meaning, right?
Lahom na kayo ng atong mga
Dili,
discussion.
kay ingon sila, it's really up to you.
It's really up to you.
What you want it to
and
be,
somebody,
right?
is it about the future, or is it about the past, or is it about the present? Because in science they say, well, the past doesn't exist. It's just history. It's just memory. The future is all projections because we don't know. So it's all about now. But now changes every second.
We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, and the more you know, the less you know.
Or the more you
The more
know,
you learn, the less you know.
the more you know, the more what you don't know.
Yeah.
So kanang nuanced conversation ba, mo na siyang importante kayo nga nagit tay long conversation. That's why kaning mga long form podcasts, long form conversations ni hit ni siya kay dili magud black and white ang kalibutan. Dili magud
Sakto.
as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Pero ganahan ta nga mas simple para makasabot ta.
Yes.
Pero the fact of the matter is, kung hisgutan na natong something that is so simple, di kita kasabutan na, for example, nagitawag nila og kaning unread library effect. Nga pagtuon mo kibaw ka sa butang o sa kabutang, for example, kanang flash ko na sa toilet. Kana kibaw mo ta nga ipislito mo flash, pero if-explain ka unsa pag flash sa toilet, marag maglisod siguro most people, right?
No, even say, inigtuyok tubig sa toilet asapado.
Oh.
You know the direction?
I have no idea. Counterclockwise naman. Ano ba na?
It's the right hand rule.
Okay.
You point down and then you turn your fingers diha padong.
Oh, okay.
Then when you're in Australia, bali.
Ganong bali man?
Because you're at the other side of the world.
Ah, really? Okay.
Yeah, so
Interesting. So ana ba nga kaning lisod yung gayo ang kalibutan is really nuanced. Ang kadaghanan
and nobody has the answers. I mean, we try to come up with our opinion. Kining atong mga tubag opinion na ni siya.
So that's why religion is very convenient. That's why dogma is very an ideology is very important because sayon ra gud sabton kay
Yeah,
na sinugdanan na katapusan na rules
yeah.
to follow. So sayon
Yeah.
ra kayo, di ba?
Exactly.
Imong kinabuhi masayon-sayon ra kay na kay kopyahon na kay sundon, di ba?
Yeah, and then they say, and then when you die, God will reward you. You'll go to heaven. But nobody talks about what you're gonna do in heaven.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, what are you gonna wear? Can you bring your watch? Can you bring your car? Can you bring your?
Yeah, but, and a place for with eternal bliss sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? Because people will get bored out of their minds.
Well, I used to think that. I said, God's been there forever. Bata pa ko, si hunahuna ko maluoy ko sa Ginoo kay well, he's there. Siya rang usa. Maybe that's why he made man. But he's been there forever, forever, forever. He'll be there forever, forever, forever. Di ni mo masabtan. Because we're thinking in three-dimensional physical dimensions and one temporal dimension.
Because that's the only way we can think, right?
Right. And so that's why when I took up physics, it actually opened up my eyes to understand that, I cannot understand God and I cannot explain God because I'm now starting to see things in a different light using the fourth dimension and, understanding the temporal physics and time. And God is beyond that. So anything I think of to describe God or to explain God, I will be wrong because we just try to simplify it. Aron masabtan na to.
So, but you'd rather start your search with assumption that there is a God. You don't want to start with, I don't know. Why do you, I always hear you say, you mention God, God, God all the time.
Yeah.
Why do you assume that there is a thing rather than
Well, we just
search for it, assuming we don't know?
Okay. It's my mind is and my understanding is so limited that I cannot speculate beyond my own capability. So there's no point in even trying. Di magyud ko kaabot. Yung sila, we can reach the moon, we can reach Mars, but then we're not even the nearest star. That's 4 light years away. And then the galaxy is 200,000 light years. So, yeah, it reaches the point. Then you say, okay, so why will I try to think about that and explain that? And why don't I just focus on where my limitations end? Where's my limit? Yeah, di ako kutob. So what do I think is right based on what I've learned in my life? It's about compassion. And then what's my compassion? I cannot save the world. People say, oh, you should help people, you should donate here. I can't afford to help the whole world. So I'll start with my neighborhood. There ako, I'm not in government, I don't have their budget, so sa kotobras ako mabuhat. But it doesn't mean I won't do it. Now, I'm not expecting that I'm going to get a reward. If I don't do this, I'll go to hell. And if I do this, I'll go to heaven. I do it because it is right. And that's what I learned about what Don Serio was doing. It's about what is right. When he ran for president, nag-away sila sa partido, kinsay mo dagan ng presidente, kinsay mo dagan ng vice. Then he said, there's no point in fighting. Let Quezon run for president. I'll just run for vice. I can still put in my 2 cents. It's not about the power. It's about, saving the country.
There's a narrative. Speaking of Quezon and your Don Sergio Osmena, there's a narrative that says nga, if something changed a little bit during our history, Philippine politics, nga ang Imperial Manila would not have existed, and it would have been somewhere in the Visayas, kuno ang murag instead of Manila, ang seat of power. Can you enlighten me? Lamdagi ko aning storya Mims nga ato'y puruhan nga ang central office sa Pilipinas diri sa Visayas instead of Luzon.
That's the fault of Lapu-Lapu. Ay, that's my opinion. No?
Okay.
Kay pag-anhi ni Magellan, iya manggipatay sa Magellan. So pagbalik sa mga Kachila, wala sila mo ani Cebu ngadto sila sa Manila niya. Nindot man ang Manila Bay. So strategically, geologically located in an ideal, it's protected area. So dito sila sa Luzon. Tungod hatlok sila. Well, actually, by the time they came back, na Lapu-Lapu. That was 50 years later when Legazpi came back. Yeah.
So I heard Manggod nga, like if this president did this and all that stuff, I don't know.
I thought the capital was like Iloilo.
Or okay,
At
Iloilo.
some time, it was
Okay.
Irong. Yeah, Iloilo. There were trading points. There were kingdoms all over the country. We were not one nation. There was the kingdom of Tondo, and then here in Cebu, Comabon, and all over the Philippines, lain Mansad. It wasn't unified. So whether you could just speculate as to where it would have been. I guess where the ideal trade route, because so Manila Bay would still make sense. Manila Bay kay dool sa Vietnam and all that. But then you would have another capital in Mindanao because again it was close to Indonesia, Sulawesi, towards going down to Australia. It's all interconnected. The Chinese were already here for a long time before the Spanish came.
Your dad ran for president, right? He would have been the second president to come out from the Visayas, or just a
Garcia.
few. There were only very few presidents from the Visayas, right?
No, I think Garcia.
Garcia and
From Bohol, no?
yeah, and then that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So nganong pananaw nimo nga gamay ra mga taga Visayas gyud nga makadaog og presidential election, ngano kadaghanan taga Luzon magyud na?
Population base. I think 50% of our population is New York, Luzon. So, most nay rason nga wa tamahimog state sa United States. Okay, they were thinking before making the Philippines a state. But if we were a state, we would have voted one day ahead of the US. And we would have more electoral votes than California, Texas, and New York combined. So, tanang mga presidente sa Amerika, Pilipino. So, that's why they couldn't do it. So, that's the reason why most presidents come from Luzon. Most senators come from Luzon.
So di ba mas daghang mang Bisaya sa Pilipinas, dili ba? Visayas ug Mindanao in terms of population?
It used to be. I'm not sure it is anymore because the population is all moving towards the central system. So Metro Manila now, daghang Bisaya dito, but population after a few generations, matagalog na sila.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, well, the ideal solution was that federal system, but until now, where the plan before was, we had only 12 provinces. Wa pa man to gidungan ang 13, 14 arm. So that's why 24 senators, 2 per state, 2 per province. Yawa naman nun. Kadaghanan nila from the north.
Nahilo mo itong federalism sa it was very loud.
Well, the national, the party of the president is Partido Federal. I guess when you get inside and you see what's going on, maglabad lang ka go and nothing, it's so difficult to move because you can't make the decision alone. You have to, play the game.
Yeah, I know, right? Mo ginang politics, the art of they say politics the art of getting things done, right? No ba na? Sakto ba na?
Partly.
Because you need to have, alliances and
if you ato nang i-translate yun English, unsay pasabot sa poly?
Poly, daghan.
Daghan. Ticks.
Koto? Daghang koto?
Blood sucker, di ba? So politics. Or di ba? Congress. Progress. Pro is the opposite of con. So
so mo nang definition na ng Congress, opposite of progress.
So, and then there were many times that they were talking about a parliamentary system. I think here in Asia, it's more successful, the parliamentary system. Ang ilang away, diha rasunod sa Congress or sa Parliament. I think it would be probably better for us.
Parliamentary. Mura man sa Britain, right?
Yeah, Britain, Malaysia, Singapore.
But aren't they trying to remove the parliamentary system in Britain?
No. They're trying to remove the House of Lords,
Okay.
which are not elected. They're hereditary
Kanang you like royalty.
royalty.
Kings and queens, right?
Yeah.
Tingom sa na king and queen. Pero walang give siya actual power, right, and purpose.
Yeah, it's limited. Constitutional monarchy.
Pwede mo tata mag-monarchy sa Dres Pilipinas.
We actually had, and there were lords here before. There was the Count of Manila,
Count
and the
of
Count
Colon.
mga daghan na sila nga titulo sa unang nawa man after 1898, but there were nobility titles here granted by the King of Spain. So under Spain,
Natin mga countess and counts.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, mga dukes.
Wala duke sa inyong pamilya.
I'm sure there is.
Duke.
Duke, Marquis, mga count. I have a cousin who's a what's he? Marquis. He's a Marquis. Everybody, when you ako'y nakita nga documentary nga kato si Charlemagne, diba? King man to siya dito sa Europe. He is one of the early 800, I think. He was one. Anybody who has nang doon na mo'y dugo sa puti. It doesn't matter nga puti, basta gikan sa Europe, gikan sa Spain, or sa England, or sa US, basta doon na kay dugo nga puti, descendant ka ni Charlemagne. Kaya that's 1,200 plus years ago. So you can say, yeah, I'm the great grandson of Charlemagne. So we're all related. So you can say you're related to a king.
Tanaw ni mo, Mim, ang trajectory sa Pilipinas ba? Are we in the right direction? Tanaw ni mo, padung ba ta sa maayo nga lugar?
We are going in the right direction. It's just slow. And it's really, we shouldn't depend on the government. It's the people who should work together. Kaya man na sa mga tao. It's just, if and it's a matter of perception also. Dili ta motuos atong kaugalinon, di gyud tayo mabuhat. So we have to believe in ourselves. The Cebuanos can achieve anything that they want to. It's just about encouraging them, and regardless of what happens in the government, or regardless of what happens, it's always about the people.
Yeah, but like you said, slow. Sometimes
sometimes it's slow.
Too slow, right?
Yeah, everybody wishes, but it's not easy, and everybody wants it easy. That's human nature.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, of course. Everybody wants it easy.
Yeah. Kinana maningkamot kita. Mangita tagpaagi. There are ways to do it, You have to think outside the box.
Outside of the box.
Yeah, so how to start that, how to get people going in the right direction, and how to help guide them. So maybe we use media, like here, we do a program where we do mentorship program where people call in about business concerns and how to do this and how to do that.
Kana sa entrepreneurship ba? I know that Cebu City is a city of entrepreneurs. Daghan man kayo mga entrepreneur. Pero daghan sa kayong nanarbaho sa dire, di ba? Mga tao. Akong pangutana, Mims, is kana ba entrepreneurship pa? That's not for everybody, right?
No, yeah, it's not for everybody.
Naamag yung mga tao nga wala gud sila gana ng entrepreneurship, right?
Well, not just entrepreneurship, even growing in a company, people don't want the responsibility, and they don't want to have they don't want to have to think. They don't have to, they're just willing to do simple tasks and get the basic pay just enough to survive. Namang yun na.
And well, I think that's a good thing too, right? I mean, what ay trabante kung tanan lang
True,
mga entrepreneur, di ba?
True. Yeah, exactly.
Pero kanang entrepreneur, kanang ang pinaka importante gyud na is really your appetite for risk, right? Kaya medyo risky mo gyud ang entrepreneurship, compared to manabaho lang ka, kaya manabaho lang ka, dili man imong labad sa ang sweldo and end of the month, right?
That's right. That's why a lot of people nga di sila ganahan musud ana kay mahadlok sila. That's why I said it's perception, no? If you take the risk, that's why older people don't want to change. They don't want to take the risk anymore. They don't want to start again. Younger people are more risk takers because they can still change. When you're a senior citizen, you can't say, oh, I'm gonna look for another job and start all over again in a different industry and learn everything again. Whereas if you focus in the area where you have expertise, mas dali kay na naman kay experience ana. So
Ningon man sila good nga, di ba? There's an old saying, you can't teach old dogs new
new
tricks, right? But there's a recent discovery in neuroscience nga, the elasticity of the brain, the ability to learn actually goes until
Yeah, it doesn't go away. Yeah.
advanced age, right?
That's right.
Siguro naka makakaton magyapon kog bago nga skill,
Well,
right?
example kanang dunay ma-stroke.
Mm.
So patay na ang parte sa ilang utok. Pero mabalik pa mangyapon kay the brain finds different pathways, so they can gain control of their hands again. So they just have to make the effort. That's where the difference is. You give up
The effort
or you try.
Kanang effort, kanang drive mo na siyang, I think that the X factor, right? But kanang drive ba, we talked about it in the last episode. Naman gyud tao nga di gyud ganan mo lihok na unsa man ma-train matudluan na nimong tao nga kapulan, matudluan na nimong tao nga uninspired siya.
Well, you inspire them, and that's the job of a leader.
Yeah.
Is somebody who can inspire.
Mhm.
Na kaya man na nimo,
But at the end of the day, they still have to pick themselves up and actually do it, right?
Well, yeah, you have to actually do it, but it's a matter of how you're going to convince them to do it.
Yeah, but I think it's important nga i-nurture gina siya dili lang kung nakadungog na sila inspirational speech igaugma.
No.
So
no.
it has to be
That's
constant.
that's why the word is mentor.
mentorship. Oh yeah, mentorship.
mentor.
Yeah, importante nang imog yung gayran, di ba?
Oh, i-guide nimo, swayo ni, then try something, then explain, di gyud mada, find another way to present the same
Mm.
solution. Like katong gihingon, ko dinhi nga katong dili pa bakuna, di ba? Kay mahadlok sila nga mahimo sila zombie.
So lainon og storya.
Yeah, there are many examples of that. When they introduced kanang patatas, gikan man sa South America.
Potatoes?
Oh, potatoes. And then katong pagdaan nila sa patatas sa Europa, wa sila ganahi. Ngayon sila way lami. Bisag iro kuno di mo kaon. So ang prinsipe dito wise. Ang gibuhat nagpahimo siya balaod nga ang mga royalty ray makatanom og patatas. Only royalty can grow potatoes. So gibutangan nilag fence and then they planted potatoes niya. Giingnan niya ang mga guard sa hapon pauli na mo niya tuog na mo. So mga tao musuod ngawat og patatas.
Mm.
Kay ganahan kay sila kay para raman sa dato. So mangawat ta. So mangawat sila, magtanom sila until finally potatoes became popular in so reverse psychology ang iyang gibuhat.
Make it scarce so that they will want it, right?
So they'll want it and only so that's one example. Another example there, I think this was Turkey. All the women were wearing veils and they wanted women to stop wearing veils. But no matter, they said, they came out with a law, dunay balaod, di na sila mo gamit, gamit pa mangyapon. So nato'y bright kaya siya, new law, only prostitutes must wear veil. Okay, gipantang-tang tanan.
Very interesting how laws actually change behavior,
Well, that's
right?
a matter of being creative,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You have a leader or somebody there who's creative. Find out what will really like traffic. One of the causes of traffic here is other than the fact that there are more cars than roads, it's something called the numbers theory, like the prisoner's dilemma.
What does that mean?
Well, if we reach an intersection, if I stop and give way to the car beside me, in other words, we take turns, puli-puli ta, the next car won't let me in. Din ako kasod, niya mahuwat na ako napo kabok, 20 kabok, antod nga makasod na sa ko. But if we all took turns, it's just like it happened to me during the earthquake in 1980 something in California. Now, why traffic light? We all took turns. Puli-puli me. Why traffic? Kaya nagsunod man. Kaya ba ako tikang hatag nimo sodya niya ako nasad niya sunod na puli-puli gyud gana respect courtesy. Here, even if you want to be courteous, that guy is not gonna let you in. The next guy, so unahon nimo.
Paaptikain lang yun.
Unahon nimo, take the risk, di ba? So those are things that we need to change culturally. Ang mga Pilipino mo ato sila glaing nasod, makasunod man sila.
They mo adapt mo sila sa culture.
Yeah, you adapt to it. When they go to Clark, they follow the rules. Well, Clark is inside the Philippines. Why? Kaya ba na sila nga, tanang mga tao diya musunod. Sumusunod sa sila, hindi sila mahadlok. So din sa ato, if we create the culture of Cebu, na, okay guys, let's start, a new drive. Let's be courteous on the road. Then we post it on all the internet sites, we publish on the radio, and then, the first 1,000 followers that we have, musunod yun sila, hantod nga maanad ang mga tao niya, sila, uy, nindot nga, puli-puli, tadi na ma-traffic. Before you know it, Cebu will have a better
You think
flow.
so? You think so? Kana lang, that one thing alone?
That one thing can help. But, you look now, you try. I've been trying to give way. I've been trying to follow they give mada.
You're talking about, for example, kanang mo left, right? Or mo turn ka sa...
Even just an intersection. Kinsay mo una si intersection.
Okay.
Or kanang yellow box. Naman ang yellow box.
Kanang intersection lagi.
Yeah.
Oh.
The international law is you don't stop in the yellow box.
Exactly,
Kita ka nga traffic na muhunong ka diha, muhuwat ka. Ya kung muhunong ka na may mo overtake nimo nga musod sa box. So ini ka red light traffic na. Nya bisag green di kasod kay na makas box. I mean, little things like that. I mean, if we all got together and took turns, then when the light turns green, the other side will go. And then when it turns yellow or when it turns red, dili siya musod sa box. So why problema? Here we ended up with gridlock because everybody goes in the box.
Okay na, sir, kanang culture, I think it really takes time, right?
It takes time. It's a generational thing.
Dili gina siya mahimog kausahon ra, balik-balik yun na.
Balik-balik.
Repetition gina siya.
Then makita na ganing mga tao nga, uy, nindot na magsunod na tantanan.
And it becomes culture that everybody knows
right.
what to do already. But in the meantime, naghanapan na itong storyano. Kanang traffic yun, mo gina usa sa grabe nga problema sa Cebu. In fact, I just came from Milanilla, na ako gihato dito sa amuang gameng shop dito niya. Sa SRP, gahap, ganyan sa buntag purtig yung trafika sa kanang lugar bito, sa New Star, sa Seaside, purtig yung dugayas traffic diya, padung sa bridge bito, sir.
Yeah, well, that's where, if you have a place where you have multiple cars coming in and there's no other access, then that's when government steps in to find a solution.
Kanang mga otowa, sir, mga tao ni manabaho sa syudad sa gigikan sa Minalilya, sa Naga, mo ni sila mga otowa.
Yeah.
So ang central place good sa Cebu, ang syudad good, of course, diba? So you mentioned this as another solution is i-decentralize good ang
that's right.
ang
Cebu,
Cebu, diba?
ang mga tao nga sa Talisay, Minglanilla, Naga niya, matrabaho sila
Sa Cebu City.
Konsolasyon. Samot pa na, kay Konsolasyon. May labot Cebu City, pero asa man sila moagi?
Correct.
Dagat. Well, actually, dagat would have been a solution.
Actually, di ba, naman to sila plano nga mag-motor taxi?
Ferry or something.
Wala ba na yun?
Wala man. So far. Well, I know cheaper solutions that will work.
Grabiha sa traffic, manabaho ni Purusa, grabiha na eh.
Yeah, well, everybody who has to work in the city, gikan pag ganis bukid, gani kano sa katong sa September 9. Kay sayo man kayong activity sa 7:30 ang sa police. So, ingon sila magpada sila escort. Ay na escort kadool ra na niya sayo pas buntag way traffic. So nigi ka ko sa balay, takhan kay motor.
Unsa kang orasan ni Bia? Nigikan
6:30.
Pero holiday man to, di ba?
Holiday. Holiday dali ra ni. Pero daghang motor kay padung sa syudad. Kay bisag holiday na may abli. So daghang motor. Pag abot na ako sa JY, wa na sakyanan. So dali na kayo. Watay like is pag abot na ako dito, ready ng mga pulis. Di pareha sa ubang mga event nga mo abot kag ingon sila alas 7 na naka alas 7 ang ilang mga tao mismo alas 8 pa mutunga. Daddy sa una katong gobernador siya 7:15 wa pay tao pa uli siya.
So Mims, we're going to do this every Monday.
Yeah,
Monday
sure.
at 12 noon, right?
Yeah, any topic niya ang kanan namin na padadimig mga pangutana.
Yeah, we will definitely get more questions in our first official episode next Monday. Actually, karong Monday, right?
Yeah.
Okay ra kag 12 noon?
I have a show 12 to 1.
So alauna lang. Alas 2 lang na to.
Yeah,
Alas 2.
yeah.
Imo ang show, of course, Lamdag in the other stations, but your Lamdag here will be slightly different. Kay lain mo sa imong kasturya, lain sa imong mga listeners.
The J&M talk show.
Okay.
Or JIC.
JIC.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case.
That's the number one religion in the Philippines.
What's naman?
Eh,
You're
kana-
asking me a question?
Diba, inigsod, mo bisita kasi mong amigo dito sa pultahan na i-crucifix. Inigsod, imos balay na sa kilid na i-Buddha. Kantos pikas na sa ipakwa. JIC, just in case.
Wala gina. Na ako yung amigo nga kaning Chinese po to siya ba nga. Kita ko siyang altar nga na Buddha, na Santo Niño, na crucifix. Sharo. Sharo, di ba? Sharo sa'yo. Kompleto naman ko. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and watching our episode of Lamdag with Mimo Osmena. Of course, we're going to do this one next time on a Monday, alas 2 sa kahaponon. Unya, pag-anda mo sa inyong mga pangutana, kay ang inyong mga pangutana tubago na mo as best as we can with, of course, our man here, Mr. Mimo Osmena. Do you have any last few words, Mims? Go ahead.
Yeah, don't forget to mention Kuya and RG and
And the rest of the team, of course, daghang salamat. Oh, there he is! Kuya Magic
Yeah.
is actually...
yeah, we can't do it without him.
Absolutely, man. We would be blind and
No, we'd be mute.
mute without him.